lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and today I'm going to be wrapping up my holiday-themed comic book conversations with a couple Vertigo Winter's Edge specials. Which, by the way, I kind of knew about these in the back of my mind because like I have collections of Sandman or Invisibles or Hellblazer where it mentions these stories that were in the Winter's Edge. Never bought them. Something awoke in me this season, and I was like, okay, I gotta check these out. And man, this is how you do anthologies. And obviously, if you know me, you know how much I love Vertigo. These books are both edited by Shelly Bond, favorite editor in comic books. So I wanted to just, I'm not gonna dive deep into them because I went in blind for the most part, and I think that's a fun way to read these. But I do want to show off a couple of my favorites. But before I get into this, I want to remind everybody, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button, and all your comments, your likes, they mean a ton to us here. It definitely helps boost us up in the algorithm. Got a bunch of dope content. So if you love comics, you love comic interviews, you love, whether it's indie creator spotlights or some of the big creators, we got it all here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And now let's get into these. So Vertigo Winter's Edge #1 has a ton of great stories. I'll just read what there is. I'm not going to dive super deep into each story, but definitely want to just kind of flip through it and show off. So we got the House of Secrets framing sequence by Steven T. Siegel, Teddy Christensen, which is great creative team. We got a Sandman story featuring Desire of the Endless by Neil Gaiman and John Bolton. The Minx by Peter Milligan and Sean Phillips. Sandman Mystery Theater by Matt Wagner, Stephen T. Siegel, John K. Snyder III. Dreaming by Caitlin R. Kiernan, Peter Hogan, Duncan Fegretto. Hellblazer by Paul Jenkins and Paul Pope. Nevada by Steve Gerber, Phil Winslade, Steve Leiloa. Books of Magic by John A. Reaver and C. Parkhouse. Invisibles by Grant Morrison, Philip Bond, Glenn Dillon. And a Preacher interview with Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. And the cover, obviously, was by Brian Boland, which, amazing. Again, I love this. This is how these instantly became some of my favorite anthologies already. I think it's just phenomenal what they did. Obviously, when you have a great editor like Shelly Bond, you're going to get some great fucking comic books. She curated the hell out of this. Love the framing sequence by Teddy Christensen is amazing. I got turned on to his work through the solo book that DC did where they spotlighted a specific artist and they got to do basically one-man anthologies. Artistically, at least. They would have like guest writers in there too, but really awesome series, so I highly recommend checking that out. Definitely want to go through a few of those on the channel. But yeah, Teddy Christensen, amazing artist. I love this, Desire story by Neil Gaiman and John Bolton. Beautifully painted art. And, you just see the centaur who's, life has passed him by, no longer attractive, and he just asks Desire, please, just one more, and we get to see this. But just watching his life when he was younger, and then seeing him old, and great little ending there. Again, more with the framing sequence. What I really loved about this Minx story is actually it's kind of ironic. I had just picked up the first 3 issues of Minx, probably like a couple weeks before I had ordered these. So, and I read this first. I haven't gotten to the Minx. So now like I'm even more intrigued to check that out. Mazel Tov, Leo, which I love because you don't really see the Jewish holidays covered much, especially in holiday comics. Believe me, I was looking and I did not see them. So it's really cool to see the Jewish holidays represented as well, because like growing up, like I think the only thing I saw that I could relate to was like the Passover or the Hanukkah episodes from Rugrats. So I love seeing this, and it's not the only Hanukkah story that we'll see. And we got Tom, who's going on a date, with Minxon's going for Hanukkah, and he's got this yarmulke that he stole from his roommate, which is kind of interesting because this will play out in the second anthology book. But he goes in and just a lot of weirdness ensues. Like this ghost of the senator is there, and he's like groping the mom. I mean, it's just really weird. Again, I Love the representation though, and I love that she's like, "Oh, I can't believe I found this yarmulke on the sidewalk where people could tread all over it at Hanukkah." He dropped it because he like didn't want to like offend them in any way. But great story here. Definitely intrigued me enough to want to see more of the Minx, and it's going to be continued in the new monthly series. Really cool one there. Probably my other favorite would be this one. I love Sandman Mystery Theater, so getting to see this and getting to see, Wesley go into the synagogue, and he's talking to this woman, and they're talking about the Kaddish and the morning prayer and how many find comfort speaking these words for friends and loved ones gone. Say this for your mother, all will be well, and that's what the rabbi tells Wesley, because he's mourning his mother, and we see that he's visiting her and like you can put the Kaddish candle before the name, which I think is pretty cool. I've never seen that done, but nice little story here. And these fucking punks come in and start talking to this woman that Wesley had been consoling, and they're making fun of the menorah, they're making fun of all this stuff, and then Wesley comes in and lays down on these punks, and just a really fantastic story. Again, love the representation, because I never got to see this that much when I was younger, and maybe I just wasn't reading the right comics, because this came out when I was 11, and I would have loved to have read this back then. We get a great story with the dreaming, Cain and Abel setting up Christmas tree, and the hilarity that ensues there. Duncan Fegredo did a fantastic job. I love how the house is attacking Cain. It's just so good. And Abel getting an impromptu Christmas present, or so he thinks. Hilarious. And then even at the end, we see that Cain's about to take that axe and do something to Abel. Get a cool Hellblazer story. Love anytime I get to see Paul Pope, and he's sitting there talking to this guy at the bar, and it ends up being, well, I won't tell you. I won't ruin that, but cool little story here. Nevada, not familiar with this, but this is kind of an out there story set in Vegas, and then they're retelling the story of Jesus, but like mixed with Vegas, and like it's just super funny. Steve Gerber's a great writer. Howard the Duck. If you read that stuff, amazing. Get a little Books of Magic story here. Get some Grant Morrison, Philip Bond, Invisibles story here too as well. I love Philip Bond's art. Invisibles, great series. And then a cool little interview, which I love that they added this in here. Definitely got to read this yourself. I won't ruin it. Then we get Vertigo Winter's Edge 2, and then we get another Mink story, which is the framing sequence, which kind of ties into the Mink story from the first Winter's Edge. We got a death story by Neil Gaiman, Jeff Jones, Transmet with Warren Ellis, Derek Robertson, Sandman Mystery Theater again with Steven Siegel and Paul Revoch, Peter Gross and Jason Lutz on Books of Magic. Got Ed Brubaker, Michael Lark, Scene of the Crime. Another, we got some Invisibles Paper Dolls by Grant Morrison, Phil Jimenez, and Kevin Nolan. Another Nevada story by Gerber and Winslade. Dreaming by Caitlin Kiernan and Teddy Christensen. Hellblazer by Garth Ennis, Glenn Dillon. And a Heavy Liquid interview with Paul Pope. And this cover art, wraparound, done by none other than the great Michael Allred. Love this too. Great cover. Again, curated by none other than Shelly Bond. Now we're getting the story of Leo, who had the yarmulke stolen, and then now he's looking for it because his grandma's on what seems like she's on her deathbed. Just go find it. Do this one thing for me before I meet you know who. So cool little framing sequence there. I like that it's tied into the first Winter's Edge, which came out a year before. This great death story. I absolutely love the character of Death, so I love that they threw this in here. Love that it's black and white. And again, don't want to ruin too much of the story. I'll just show off the art because I really think this is something that should be experienced kind of blind, because they're phenomenal. And I knew nothing of these stories except for maybe a couple that I had read in other collections. But you get this Spider Jerusalem story. Transmet's always been one of my favorite series, so I like that they have this hilarious story in here. doesn't love the holidays, and he's letting it be known. Got more of the framing sequence, and got another great Sandman story. Absolutely love this run. Definitely have to talk about this in a separate video and go through. I got the first compendium. It's an amazing, amazing series. I'm so sad it took me as long as it did to read it, but nonetheless, great character, great run by great creators, and another book of magic. Get these fairies that are asking to help get home. So he performs a little magic, and in doing so is able to get them home. Nice, happy little story. This is a not happy story with the scene of the crime. Very dark story. We open up and you see the blood on the ground, and then we follow Jack as he's investigating this witness on a homicide that jumped town, and in doing so, he's on a stakeout, and it's obviously it's Christmas time. He sees this young girl come up, and she's spying on him, asking him all these questions. What are you doing and stuff? Oh, are you undercover like Johnny Depp? Which to me was like kind of a callback to Donnie Brasco. That's what it reminded me of. And I don't want to get into the end of the story, but man, it's a little sad ending, but amazing story. Beautiful art by Michael Lark. And then we get these paper dolls by Phil Jimenez and Kevin Nolan. Get another story with Nevada. Fantastic art. Just like fucking weird story. This one's taking place on New Year's Eve. Get another dreaming story. Get a little bit different style with Teddy Christensen. This is more traditional and not painted art. Prefer the painted art. I mean, beautiful art nonetheless, but really love the tradition. Really love the painted stuff he does. Another Hellblazer story. This time we get to see a young Constantine, I guess is how you say it. Another good one. And then we, as we end the book, or the framing sequence of the book, we see Leo get shot by a drive-by, and we think he's dead. Get an interview with Paul Pope, and then we see that he's not dead. He was saved by the Minx. So definitely another reason for me to want to check the Minx out and see what the deal is with that story. Again, I know that these are both 96 pages, so super thick books. Obviously, I could have spent a good amount of time separately on each one, but I couldn't decide the best way to present this. I think the best way is to kind of give you guys just a little taste of what you can expect in it. Go pick these up. They're not. I don't think they're collected in trades. I didn't even look. Super easy to find. Hit up back issues at your local comic shop. Hit up eBay. Whatever you got to do. But I highly recommend these. This is how you curate an anthology and put some amazing talent, fantastic characters. So go pick these up. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, I'm out.